Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have the amazing Valerie Francis on the show. And she is joining us from the great country of Canada, eh? I love saying A at the end. I always get crap from my Canadian friends for that. But anyway, so we are going to talk to Valerie and see what her life story is and how she's made it through the ups and downs in life and what she's up to these days. So, if you would do me a favor and share this out so we can get a bunch of people on here to hear all about Valerie and her story, and we will be right back. See you in a minute. Share this out, share it out. Okay, we are back. Let me bring Valerie on. Valerie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ken.
I am so happy to have you here. So, I am trying to share this out with a few groups that I'm in. So, let me
All right.
do that. And so, Valerie, I started this show, oh my goodness, 6 years ago ish, and maybe a little longer than that. Um, and thank you. That is my buddy Operator 404 on X. Thank you. That's Cat Meme King as well. But thank you for sharing this out, brother. So I started this. It's been I guess over 6 years ago. That's crazy, and it was really to help people have a breakthrough in life. And I'm assuming that you've had some ups and downs in life,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'd love for you to talk about, start with where everything started for you. Where were you born and raised? Let's start there.
I was born in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, which is on the east coast of Canada, and that is where I still live. I'm the youngest of three daughters, so I don't know if that makes me the spoiled one or not, but but
It
I'm the
does.
youngest. My sisters would say it does. Yes.
Yeah. I have two daughters, and my oldest would say that that's true, probably. So, what was it like growing up there? Doesn't it get really cold?
Well, it depends where in the province you live. In Labrador, it's pretty cold because that's pretty far north. Where I am in St. John's, it's actually pretty mild. The
Okay.
winters here are not too cold at all. We tend to have some snow, yes, obviously, but then it'll warm up and then it'll rain. So this past winter was very green. I have no complaints.
Wow.
No,
Green?
I still have a snowblower though.
Yeah.
It's not so green that I don't need a snowblower, but
Right.
I think I only used the snowblower twice. So it's a great place. Everyone should come visit.
Wow. So, I used to have a Newfoundland dog, a
Ah,
Newfoundland
yes.
dog. I did. Is that where they're from? I assumed. I always
Yes.
assumed that.
Yes. And I
So,
have two Labradors also from this province.
okay, awesome. So, what was it like for you as a kid? I mean, growing up, you went to school there. And I think things are a little different than they are here in the States as far as like high school and then college, and you guys call it something different. Why don't you explain that a little bit? Talk about what it was like growing up for you.
Yeah, well, grade school is pretty much the same here in Canada as it is there in the US. When I was growing up, there were only public schools, so I went to public school. And then when I graduated in 88, I think it was, I can't remember now, it was a long time ago. I went to university, which is what we call college. And I did an honors degree in English literature, graduated top of my class, and then went on to a career that was all about writing. I worked in publishing, I worked in public relations, I worked in communications. Now I am a writer, but everything that I did had to do with the English language, writing it, reading it, analyzing it, all that kind of stuff. Working with other writers.
Look at my buddy Joe. He's just a smart aleck. Everything is oh my gosh. So that was working for a what kind of a company was it then?
Well, different companies. I
Oh,
worked with a local
okay.
publishing company. The last, quote unquote, real job that I had was
Yeah.
working with the federal government in various different departments, part of their communications team.
Okay. Wow. And how like did you was that a long-term thing you did?
Oh, I was there, felt like forever. I was there 16 years,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it was it was a good job. The benefits were great, the salary was great. When I left, I had the corner office, I had the big job, I had the staff and the pension and the benefit. I had all that.
Yeah.
But I kind of got to hate it.
I
Loved
I
the people I worked with, got really tired of the bureaucracy. And I
mm,
just about I can't remember when I left exactly. I started my exit 10 years ago. It took me a couple of years of sort of taking some leave of absences and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
And I just thought, listen, life is short. I can't stay here. I'll go bonkers. Just the layers and layers and layers of bureaucracy just got to be a bit much for me. And I come from
Yeah.
a family of entrepreneurs. So, I kind of had that bug too. And there it's different wiring, right? If you're wired like an entrepreneur, working in the bureaucracy can be tough.
I yeah, personally I find it ugh, I can't do it. And I definitely couldn't do it for the government. Like I mean, there's bureaucracy in anything, right? In any kind of
Oh,
a
yes.
job, like it doesn't matter if it's the government or corporation.
Yeah.
But I would think that the government would probably be even more sickening.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just got to a point where I thought, I'm working so hard to build something for someone else. If
Right.
I worked this hard, I could build something for me
Yep.
that's really amazing. And in government, if you want to do something, you have to go through 25 layers of approvals and proposals and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
As the owner of my own company, if I make a decision today, I can be putting it into action an hour from now. And I
Wow.
like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Or even sooner in some things. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to go through all the red tape and the insanity.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. So okay, so you worked in government for and you said as the in communications, like what, how
Yeah.
to get the message out that they're screwing their citizens or how do we tell them that they're being screwed and make them like it? Is that what you had to
Well, no, not quite, not quite,
I mean,
but there
that's
was
every
lots of
government, but what was what type of messaging, or communication stuff did you have to focus on?
Well, it really depended which department I was in. Like, I worked with the Department of Justice for a number of years, and that would be communicating. It could be doing some education on what the legal processes were. It could be training some of the lawyers in the department for doing media interviews. I worked with Fisheries and Oceans and Human Resources. The Human Resources Department, it's now called Service Canada, was, I think, probably my favorite because that was the social programming. So if someone had lost their job, what we did in communications was explain to them how they could apply for benefits. When they were retiring and they wanted their Canada pension plan, again, we outlined for them how they could go about getting their pension and all that kind of stuff. So that was sort of all the departments I worked for, I think that was kind of the feel good department.
Okay, so when you, but obviously, if you were doing that, were you forced to move departments, or did you
Oh
pick your
no,
okay,
no, I did it because it was just fun. And I guess, like, I mean, I don't know what Washington is like. I haven't been there, and I certainly haven't worked there. But the seat of parliament in Canada is in Ottawa, and it's a
Okay.
fairly small department, a fairly small communications community. So
Right.
you get to know everyone, and you're constantly working with the communications folks in other departments. So it would be
Okay.
just kind of nice every few years to switch up the department and test your skills in a different way, flex your communications muscle and your writing skills. Um, in a different way, and get to know different people, and it was just to keep it interesting, that's all.
Got it. So, when you when you made I mean, was there like a moment where you're like, I can't do this anymore, I'm out?
Yeah.
Or was it a I mean, you said it took 10 years, but like what was the was there a final blow, so to speak, that made you go, I just can't do this anymore?
Well, I think it was probably something that had been building up for a little while.
Mhm.
And, my kids were really young at the time. They were 6 and 10 years old, and I was a single mom. My husband had passed away.
Mm.
And I remember
Sorry.
being in my, oh, well, thank you. It's a long time ago
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember being in my office, a beautiful office, surrounded by really wonderful people.
Yeah.
And I remember looking out, in the because I was in one of the tall buildings downtown, the fancy things. And I remember looking out at a woman who was walking on the sidewalk. And I thought, she's free. She can walk along that sidewalk in the middle of the day. I can't. I have to sit in this office. And I thought, this is messed up. I don't want I don't want to do this anymore. And I
Yeah.
thought, okay, I have to figure out how to make the switch. Now, as a single mom of two really young kids, it would have been irresponsible of me to just up and quit one day, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I just wasn't going to do that.
Right.
So I started by taking my summers off, because that was a program available to us where we were kind of like teachers, where um, we'd be paid for 10 weeks, but the 10 weeks, 10 months, but the 10-month salary was stretched over 12. So I would
Oh,
still
okay.
get a check during the summer,
Yeah.
but I just worked for 10 months of the year. And that
Right.
was really wonderful. And my daughter, who's now 22, said, I really like, she couldn't remember me not being home because when she was home, I was home.
Yeah.
And that was such a gift to me, to think, okay, she did notice. She was only a little pipsqueak at the time, 6
Right.
years old, but she noticed, and it meant a lot to her. So I thought, okay, I did the right decision there. And when I finally did decide to take a leave of absence from work, for a couple of years, I still had that safety net that I could go back if I had to.
Mhm.
And I just
But you weren't getting paid.
no, 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 I wasn't getting
No.
paid. I
Okay.
had saved up my own money and was sort of living off what I had saved to cover me for the couple of years,
Right.
while I was building my own business,
Right.
right? So
Yep.
if I did a face plant, I still had a job to go back to.
Right. Right.
And, I felt so much more relaxed, even though I was working really hard, because it meant when the kids were at school, I was working like a crazy woman in those couple of hours.
Right.
And then when they came home, I was totally focused on them and driving them to their activities and all that kind of stuff. When they went to bed at night, I went back to work. So I got to set my own hours. I suddenly was in charge of my schedule,
Right.
and I wasn't trapped in an office any longer, having to explain why I took my lunch break, why I actually left the office for an hour to go for a walk around the block and clear my head. And that was a gift, an
Yeah.
absolute gift. And I know that I was a better mom because of it. I was
Wow.
a lot calmer. And what I didn't really realize at the time, that now that my kids are 22 and, will be 26 in a couple of weeks,
Right.
what I realize now that I didn't realize then is that I was setting a really good example for my kids. They are
Yeah.
both now pursuing what they love to do, and they're very happy. They're happy people. They enjoy what they do for a living, and they
That's
enjoy their
awesome.
studies. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you took this 2 years. Was that recently? Was that in the last when was that? What year was that?
Oh, that was 2015.
Oh, okay. So not
15,
really that
16,
so a
17. Yeah.
decade ago. Wow.
Yeah, oh yeah. I never went
S-
back.
Yeah. Did they call and ask you to come back?
Well, interestingly, a couple of months before I was due to let them know one way or the other whether I was coming back,
Yeah.
I got a call from a former colleague, who was in Ottawa, and I now had moved from Ottawa to Newfoundland. And she
Okay.
called and she said, "We have a position opening up in Newfoundland, and you would be perfect for it. I know you're on leave of absence right now, but I also know you're coming back." Because again, it's a small community. Everyone knew what I was doing.
Sure.
And so she proceeded to tell me about the job and what she would need. And when you work in the federal government here in Canada, you need to be bilingual. And I
Okay.
was when I worked in Ottawa, but in
So
Newfoundland
like you spoke English and Chinese?
and French,
No, I'm just
French
kidding.
and English.
My wife
And
speaks French.
okay.
Yeah.
And but I mean, living here in Newfoundland, I didn't need to use my French. I'll be kind to myself and say that I was rusty. I was super rusty.
Yeah.
And my friend said, "No problem. We'll work around it. We'll get you training. Like whatever you need, you tell me what you want and we'll make it happen." And I thought, I'm being tested. The cosmos is testing me.
Yeah.
And she said, "Don't answer me now. Call me back next week and let me know your answer." And she said, "Well, just tell me like what have you been up to?" And so then we had a little bit of a chat. And by the end of the call, she said, "You're not coming back. You're not going to say yes to me. Why would you? You're happy where you are." She said, I'll leave the door open, but I know you're going to say no." And I thought, yeah, it's a no. Because the thought of the chaos coming back into my life and that rat race
Yeah.
of having to get up in the morning and get the kids out the door because when I was working and my kids were younger, they still needed daycare in the afternoon. I would take my lunch at 2:30 in the afternoon, pick them up from school, drop them off at daycare, beat it back to my desk for 3:30 so that they could be at daycare for an hour because I got off work at 4:30.
Oh my God.
And then beat it
Ew.
home. And I just thought, this is insanity. This is nuts. This is no way to live. So
That's
I'm
like
yeah.
totally ew.
And you
Like,
know what? There's a lot of parents of young children listening to this who are saying, "Yep, been there,
yeah.
done that."
Yeah. So, I assume that working for the government, especially, and your education, that you probably made a decent salary, I would imagine,
Yeah, I was
for
comfortable for
okay.
sure. For sure.
Um, yeah, when I met my wife, she had been global VP of marketing for two different $500 million a year companies, and she was not an entrepreneur in any way,
Okay.
and I was, and she had been downsized in the '08, '09, 2010 thing, and I'm like, well, we can work together, and so now we still work together, but it's been a battle because and you tell me what you think, but it is a massive difference in mindset in the way that you view things, right?
Oh,
Because
yes.
I talk about that a little bit and the fears that because there's a lot of fear going. I'm going to walk away from my $2,500 a week paycheck or whatever it is, whatever the amount is.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk away from that and I'm going to do my own thing and hang out my own shingle. Talk about the fear around that.
Oh, I love this question. Okay. So when I was in the process of making all these decisions and, would I go back to work and all that kind of stuff, I discovered a man named Bob Proctor.
Hold on a
Yes.
minute. I just talked. Oh, well, that's how we met. Was Brian
Through
Proctor?
Brian
Oh
Proctor.
my
That's
gosh, that's
right.
right. I love
That's
Brian. Oh my
right.
god, I love that dude. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm like, that's right. I had a brain fart there for a minute. Okay, go ahead.
And so Bob would do these seminars, and you could go in person or you could go online. And I decided to take one of his online seminars. And even then at the time, spending the money, 130 bucks or whatever it was, I can't remember, really felt kind of like a crazy thing that I was doing. But there was something about him that was very compelling. So I did this seminar with him. And in the course of that seminar, he said, "Are you willing to step out and bet on yourself?" And I thought, oh, that's what this is about. That's what this requires me to do, to step out and bet on myself. I'm a safer bet than the government. That is exactly my thought. Because at the time that there was, with the way the government would work is they would never come right out and say there's going to be downsizing. There would be a lot of rumors, and they would let people leave on their own, which meant then they didn't have to go through the formal process of downsizing. But I'm a fairly intelligent woman. I could see the writing on the wall, and I thought, no, I'm a safer bet. I trust me with my pension more than I trust some faceless, nameless person in some office somewhere in Ottawa managing my money. So, I mean, I sat down with my financial advisor and came up with a plan and said, if I cashed out, what would that look like? Or if I left it in there, what would that look like? And together we came up with a plan. I mean, it didn't just one day up and leave
Right.
and then figure it all out. I spoke with people first. I, made sure my ducks were in a row, made sure my children would be uh, cared for financially, and they were, and they are. And but that's line. Are you willing to step out and bet on yourself? I went,
Yeah.
yes, that I can do. I'm a safe bet. And so that was the thing that made me go, yeah, all right, let's do this. And my
That
kids
is,
supported it. My kids said, go for it, mom.
that's so you had kind of a somewhat, it sounds like, of a safety net a little bit. Um, I didn't do that. I got a $20 loan because I was broke,
Oh, oh,
and
wow.
went out and knocked on doors. I didn't have a safety net. I had to eat, and so that's that. But there's this entrepreneurial thing that um and I think Bob talked about this probably many times. It's I had Don Green, the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. He's a really good friend of mine, and he was on yesterday with me. And Don is amazing, and it's all about having that burning desire that no matter what, the ships are burned,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
There's my wife
Absolutely.
right now. She's watching. Are you willing to step out and bet on yourself? That's
Yeah.
such a good
Jill, you're
question.
exactly I mean, that's exactly it, right? That's
Yeah.
that's what we all that's what we all are doing. And you've
Yeah.
got two choices. If you want to talk about mindset, you all of us as we're going through life, we've got two choices.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what your upbringing was like, but I think mine was fairly typical. Um, certainly in it's been pretty common in all the people I've met in my lifetime as I've traveled through the world.
Yeah.
But we were taught to the goal was to grow up, get a job, get married, have kids, stay in that job until you retired.
Yep.
That was the thing that everyone did. And every now and again there'd be someone who was a little different who might open up their own, I don't know, beauty parlor, their own hardware store, their own law office, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But most people went to work for someone else.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. There's a lot of people who are very happy with that and they like the safety net in that. So I'm not in any way criticizing that. However, there are some people who there's always this little niggling in there, right? Inside of us, we're like, yeah, this is good, but I'm really looking forward to 5 o'clock on Friday. Like I'm just living for 5 o'clock on Friday. And then when Sunday comes, the anxiety starts to ramp back up and you're thinking, oh God, I gotta go back to work in the morning. Oh, what a rat race. There is another way of doing it.
There is.
There's absolutely another way of doing it. And some people will do what you did and they'll just, cut the ties and go cold turkey and go for it. And then there are people who will sort of follow more my route, which is wean themselves off the steady paycheck,
Right.
um, give themselves a little safety net, and build from there. And Bob used to say, jump, you'll build wings on the way down,
That's right.
and that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
But
I
it's exhilarating.
it is it's like I was talking to somebody yesterday. Like they're like, "What are you doing for the 4th of July?" I'm like, working." Like, what do you mean? What am I doing? Like, I hate holidays. I don't, but like, I don't like when you love what you do, and I mean really love what you do, and you're
Mhm.
doing what you love, and I mean it's not work. It's
No.
fun.
And Ken, what I do for a living now is read books and write books and
Yeah.
watch movies and write screenplays and work with people, with writers who are writing their own novels and their own screenplays. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a podcast too, and every week we analyze a film from the storytelling perspective. We're not looking at cinematography or the acting in it or any of that kind of stuff, or the casting or the music. We're looking
Right.
only at the story. So when I'm watching a movie on Friday night, it's actually work. I mean, come on. That's pretty cool. That's a fun
That's
job.
that's pretty cool.
And it's a job that didn't exist before. I had to create it.
Yeah.
And I so much prefer it to sitting in the office looking out at the world, wishing I was out there in it.
I think about something you said a minute ago, and I or a few minutes ago. You said that you had that
Mhm.
2 years to basically say, okay, I screwed up. I want my job back. I give.
Yep.
But most people don't realize, and I'll just throw this in there. Most people don't realize that they have that too. And maybe
Yeah.
not necessarily the way you had it, but you had it whether you had it or not. And that is, there's all kinds of places that'll hire you. Like, you can always get another job,
Yeah. Yeah,
even if
for
it's
sure.
not for the government, or maybe it's a little less, but what if it's a little more?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So I think, I look at it from the perspective of, and I'm sure you do now, but like, if everything hits the fan, I can start over. Whatever. It's like, just you just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten myself this far. And when I did leave the government, I was halfway. So I had 16 years in, I would have had another 16 years to go. I'm
Yeah.
still nowhere near the 16 years, right?
Right.
Like I
Right.
still have many more years to go before I would even have been eligible to retire from that job. And I think of
Jeez.
everything I have done in the last 10 years and all the people that I have met and the places that I have traveled and where this job has taken me.
Yeah.
God, I wouldn't give that up. I mean,
There's
and people say, "How's it going, Valerie?" And they assume it's not going very well, simply
I know.
because I'm a single mother and I'm a writer. So they
Right.
assume, therefore, I am, one step away from the food bank.
Right.
And I
Right.
say it's great. I live in a lovely home in a lovely neighborhood. You know, I kind of make a joke of it and I say, well, the lights are still on, the children are still fed. But
Right.
we're doing a lot better than that. I've always had a new car,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Life is good. And it's on
It,
my own terms, which
you
is
know,
the best.
exactly. I was, and I'm pulling it open here real quick. So Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield have a book, and it's on Audible. It's called Dare to Win.
Uh-huh.
And as you know, Mark, I already shared with you, Mark is a very, very good friend of mine. They co created Chicken Soup for the Soul
Yes.
together. The only book that's outsold their book is the Bible. And, with 600 million copies of Chicken Soup for the Soul now, I think is what
Yep.
it's crazy. But,
Yeah.
I was talking to Mark one day, and we were going through a rough patch, and he goes, Let me tell you something. And this story is in that Dare to Win book, and it is in 1974. I was He had been doing $2 million a year in another business, and the industry shifted massively, and he basically went absolutely broke. And he had a, I forget what year, the Volkswagen something. I don't know what it was, but he was broke. And he said, there was an attorney standing on a corner saying, I'll help you file bankruptcy, it's $300. And he said, I looked at him and said, if I had $300, I wouldn't be here to file bankruptcy. Like, he's like, so he had to go to the library and check a book out on like how to go bankrupt on your own, right?
Oh my
And so
god.
right, right. So, but what I love about entrepreneurs, what I love about like Mark Victor Hansen and anybody doing what you're doing, what I'm doing, is there is one key ingredient that is required. And oftentimes you don't even know you have it until you need it. And that is absolute tenacity. You have
Yes.
to be able to oh, you have to be able to hang in there because sometimes sometimes it gets really, 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 really real. So
Yes,
talk a
I'm
little about
tenacious. Absolutely, I'm
tenacious.
tenacious.
Oh my gosh. But talk about some of the I'm sure it's not been all rainbows and unicorns since you started your company. What are some of the downs that you've went, "Oh my god, am I?" Cuz you've seen that graph on the thing on social media, the journey of the entrepreneur, like, "Oh my god, we're going to make it." And then boom, next day everything, we're all going to die. And like, it's like it's that up and down thing, and it's crazy sometimes.
Yep.
um Talk about some of the things you've been through that you were like, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah, there've been a few of those, I'll tell you that. Well, so when I started as a novelist. That's what I left the job that the real job to
Yeah,
do is to be a
yeah.
novelist. And the first challenge I had was learning how to write a novel because there's a lot more to it than putting words on a page. Now, I came from a writing background. All of the jobs I had required me to write, but they're different styles of writing. Writing a
Wait, so you
communique.
started a novel company without knowing how to write a novel?
Well, I started, well, yeah, because everyone who
Wow, that's
becomes a
incredible.
writer, everyone who decides they want to write a novel
Yeah,
is in essence going into business,
yeah.
right? Because it doesn't matter what publishing model you follow. Like you could self-publish and then you're really starting, you Inc. But even if you want to be traditionally published, you're going into business with an agent and a publisher. So when you write your manuscript and you query an agent, basically your query letter and your sample pages is your business proposal. And you're going to someone and say, okay, I need you to sell this for me. Are you willing to invest your talent and your expertise and your time and your business in going into business with me to sell this novel? So it's the business of the arts. And there's a lot of people who really want to believe in, I call them magical thinkers, and we kind of all start out that way. That's not a derogatory term, but we kind of get caught up in the romance of what it is to be a novelist.
Yep.
And it's this image of, well, I just sit on a beach and wait for the muse to download a book to me. Well, no, honey, that is not how it works. it
That's not
is,
how it works.
it's a job like any other job. You got to show up every day and do the job.
Yeah.
And so one of my first challenges was finding someone who could teach me how to do this. And I spent a lot of money and a lot of time on people and courses and books trying to figure out how to do this. And what I discovered is that, well, the screenwriters are way ahead of novelists, first of all, in stories, because nobody buys a novel because they want to read pretty sentences, right? No one says, I think I'd like to read nice prose as I go to the cabin this weekend. No, people say, I want a good book to read when I'm at the cabin or I'm going to the beach. or I just need to unwind for 20 minutes at the end of the day. So people buy a book because they want a good story, not because they want to read beautiful prose. So that was my first challenge. And it took me a long time to understand that there was two things happening, because coming from a literary background, I was always taught about the prose, how to write descriptive sentences and all that kind of stuff, which is an important skill. Don't get me wrong. I mean, readers assume a writer can do that. Let's be fair. That's just an assumption that you have those skills. Now, can you tell a story? And it took me a long time to find, and I didn't find just one person. I found a couple of people after many years who could fill in some gaps for me. So that was, when you're a writer, you're always playing the long game, right? There's no get rich quick schemes. No matter what you might think of 50 Shades of Grey, there's no get rich quick schemes. You're playing the
No.
long game. So you're writing and you're writing and you're writing and you're writing and you're hoping one day the money will start coming back. So it wasn't until my third novel that I started to see some traction,
Yeah.
and that I became a bestseller, and that I got regular royalties. I mean, I'm doing zero promotion for that book. It's an open door romance called Masquerade.
Hmm.
Other than something like what I just said, I do zero promotion for that book, and I get royalty statements from all the online retailers. But it
Yeah.
took me a while to figure that out. And um, so, that was probably, I think, the biggest. I don't know if I would call it a pitfall, but the biggest light bulb moment for me to realize, okay, this is a job where I'm going to have to, this is a marathon, not a sprint. I'm going to have to be willing to,
That's my
um,
friend Shell asking that question. Her name's
where can you order
Shell.
Masquerade? It's available wherever you get books. If you want it on Amazon,
Amazon.
it's on Amazon. Yep. If you're in Canada, it'll be at Chapters Indigo or Kobo. It's available. Your
Yeah.
library should even be able to order it.
So
Um,
it, but it's
yeah.
it's just called Masquerade, and your name, you don't
My
use
name, Valerie Francis
okay.
Masquerade. Get the
Okay.
complete series though, because
Okay.
I here's where I followed some poor advice that I didn't know was poor advice at the time. This was way back when, and authors were playing what I call algorithm roulette at, on Amazon, and the game then was you had to publish every 30 days to make the algorithm happy and blah blah blah. So what I did, it's a story that takes place over a year. Okay, so each chapter is a month of the year, and I
Yeah.
would write it and then publish it, and then write it and then publish. So there's part 1 to 12, and then I bundle them as one novel, because it's one novel. But I didn't take the other ones down because I already had such great reviews, and they're cheap. Someone can just buy the first one, and if they like it, they can go and get the whole book. So it's working. There's no reason for me to take it down because they're selling. But I always recommend that someone just buy what's called the complete series, and then you get the whole story in one. It's an open door romance, and it's designed to be fantasy, to be escape, just to have fun with it. It's not a heavy book. If you're in, it's like, when you want to sit down to a movie, and sometimes you want um, a thriller, like you want something that you really have to sink your teeth into. You want a Christopher Nolan movie, and other times you want a rom com. You want How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That's just your mood. This
Right.
is an open door romance when you just want to sit back and have no one talk to you for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's the way I wrote it was with my friends in mind, because they were all super busy moms, super busy, and they had a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there. So they could read it while they were waiting for their kid to get out of rehearsal, or they could read it on the commute home, or if they were
Yep.
soaking in the bathtub having a glass of wine, they could just read the book for a couple of minutes and unwind. That's the whole point of that book.
You and I've talked about this. Um, Look, she does a lot of politics.
Yeah.
She has a national radio show and all kind. She's amazing.
Shell,
Um,
this book is for you. Written for you, with
yeah,
you in mind, my
is
friend.
it?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, but I think about as we've already talked about, I own a publishing company too,
Yep.
and I've had, there's so many authors, and I tell everybody right up front, like, listen, you're not going, like, let's get really super crystal clear on this. You're not going to get rich off of book sales. It just it, unless it's an anomaly, and that can happen. It
Yeah, for
happened
sure it can.
for what's her name that did Harry Potter.
J.K.
um
Rowling.
JK Rowling, yes, I love her. And like, but there are so many facets to the book business.
Mhm.
With that the business side of it, I'm not talking about the, oh, I'm going to sit down and craft the most beautiful. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the back end. Like, okay, the book is done, it's published, and now we got to sell it. It is a it's a I don't even know how to put it in words.
But
It Go ahead. I feel like
Ken,
you
let
can.
me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you are starting a business, whatever kind of business it is in any industry, what's the very first step? You got to have a product that's
Yeah.
worth paying for,
Yep.
right? The product has to be great.
Yes.
Otherwise, no one's going to tell their friend about it.
That's
And
right.
if, they say that publishing is a word of mouth business, and it is. I
It
would
is.
argue that everything is a word of mouth business because
Amen.
when you try a service, like,
Yeah.
if, say you wanted to have your car washed
Yep.
and you hired this guy to detail your car and he did a poor job, you're not going to hire him again. And if anyone says to you, "Oh, I was thinking of hiring this guy to do," you're going to say, "No, no, 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 no." You might not proactively go out and say to your friends, "Don't hire the guy," but you're not going to give a recommendation. Now, if you hire that
Correct.
guy to detail your car and he goes above and beyond and your car looks amazing, it was done faster than
Yeah.
um, he said it would, and he did a couple extra things that you weren't expecting, and you're going to say, "Oh my God, you're fantastic." You're going to proactively go out to your socials and say, "You guys got to get this guy. He's going to make one of your problems go away." It's the same thing with a novelist. Job number one is to know how to write a really great novel.
Yep.
Because if you don't have a really great novel, which contains a story, okay, not just, like I said earlier, it's assumed that you know how to write sentences.
Yeah. Right.
Right? That's
Right.
assumed.
Right. Right.
But if you can learn how to write a really great story, then your readers are going to say to their friends, "Oh, I just read this book. You got to read this book. And I want you to read the book because I want to talk to you about the story. I don't want to give you any spoilers, but I don't have anyone to talk to about this book, and I want to talk about this book.
Right.
I want to bring it to my book club." Or, like in the case of Masquerade, you've got a friend who's stressed out. You'll say, "I got the book for you. It's not heavy. It's not, you just sit back and relax and let it wash over you and relax. You just, it's all good. Hakuna Matata."
Hakuna, Hakuna
Right?
Matata. I love that. Use no worries.
For the rest of
So
your days.
that's right.
So in any business, you got to have a great product to start.
Yeah. Yes.
So any money that you put into, and time and energy and effort into
Yeah.
promoting the book, and it isn't a great book, it's a waste of your time and money and energy and effort, because it's, like you said, it's going to go nowhere. And right
Right.
now the trend is to have AI um, generate a book. I'm not going to say write a
Uh,
book because it doesn't write. It's everywhere I go, people are saying, "Oh, I'm just going to have AI do it." Here's the thing about stories, and if there's anyone here who is thinking about writing a book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, because
yeah.
there's a lot of people who want to write a book in their specialty
Yeah.
as a calling card, right? As a proof of your knowledge in your field. A book is a transfer of energy from the author to the reader. It's always one-on-one.
Yep.
AI has no energy. There's no soul in it.
Correct.
If when you are writing your book, again, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you have to feel what you're writing. So if it's nonfiction in your subject matter, write it with the intention of helping the reader and genuinely having confidence that the information that you're giving them, that the advice you're giving them is good advice that is really going to help them. Because when the person picks up that book, they're going to feel that energy from you. They're not going to feel it from AI. And if you can have AI generate the book on the subject matter, so can everybody else.
That's right.
So why would they need to buy your book? So it's
And but
right.
people think, but I'm the best at writing prompts. It's like, no, I'm sorry, but no, you're not. Everybody's doing it. So,
Oh,
and
there'll
my
be a whole
wife,
business in selling prompts. I'm sure there
yeah.
will be.
Oh, there
Um,
is. There's already people doing it. Like you can
yeah,
find, but again, I don't. There are. I have said to people, look, if you are, getting stuck on chapter titles, it's okay to go to AI and say, I'm writing a book and I'm looking for ideas on chapter
yeah,
titles and get that. That helps you think deeper, not use what AI gives you. I'm not saying to do that,
yep, yep.
and I think because look, I said this last night on I was watching a buddy of mine's podcast and everybody was saying, I hate AI. I hate I I'm like, listen, you can hate it and be resentful, but it's not going anywhere.
Oh no, it's
So
here. It's here to
it's
stay.
here. And I don't think, and I agree with you 1,000%. My wife, oh my god, she's a writer. She was editor
Hey,
of a paper,
awesome.
newspaper. She's done a lot, and she's also an editor. So she's like, "Don't use AI." I'm so sick of hearing people say they're going to use AI. That's just dumb. It's dumb.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. It's just
yeah,
it's not writing a book. When I wrote my first book and I got the pre-copy and self-published, I remember opening it going, "Oh my gosh, these are my words of
yeah.
the thousands of books. This is the first time I've read my words on a page. It's magical."
Cool, isn't it?
It's
Yes.
it's so cool. It's so
Yeah, I mean
cool.
that is a trip.
So talk a little bit about what you're doing to help people, because I know you're doing some really cool stuff with the storytelling stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna put your is it just it's the Valerie what is it dot
My website is
Valerie
valeriefrancis.ca.
yeah, okay,
Yep.
I'm gonna put that up on the screen. um, Go ahead. Go ahead and talk about some of the stuff that you're doing to help people with the storytelling part.
Yeah, so because I sort of ran foul of a number of charlatans in our business as I was learning, and one of the things that I do now, in addition to being a novelist, I have a podcast called Story Nerd that is totally free. And in it, my podcast co host and I, we analyze a film every week from the story perspective. And we're talking about storytelling techniques. And these apply to novels, to screenplays, obviously, to memoir. It's even the same techniques for nonfiction, for in business, because everything is storytelling. In addition to that, I'm also a story editor. So I do work one on one with writers and help them with their specific books. And I also have at storynerd.ca/courses, we're now starting to roll out some courses all about the craft of storytelling so that we can help as many writers as possible. And one of the courses is called The Fundamentals of Storytelling. So this is where you start. This is the course I wish I had when I was starting because I couldn't I was so desperate to find somebody who would just say, "Okay, Valerie, here's what you need to know. And if you never move beyond this, you will still be just fine. But here's what you need. If your story must have these things in it, otherwise it's not going to work and no one's going to want to read it and you're just wasting your time." So it's called The Fundamentals of Storytelling, and we go over the basics of plot and character design and genre. Because one thing in our business, and the irony does not escape me at all, in the storytelling business, there is no common lexicon. So even the word genre, it means something a little different to everyone you speak with. Like for for example, some people, when you say genre fiction, it's lowbrow, it's sort of bargain basementy stuff, and it's not worth anybody's time. And it is the opposite of literary, which is the only thing that has any value. For other people, like me, the word genre simply means what kind of story is it? So for me, literary is a genre because that's one of the types of books you can buy when you go into the bookstore. And you see all the different labels around the bookstore. Those to me are genres. Mystery. You might see a general fiction, which means these are the books that are really selling well. That's why they're at the front of the store. You might see romance. You might see travel books. You might see biographies. Those are all genres to me. So at Story Nerd is all about me and my podcast co-host Melanie Hill, who's in Australia. And she's also a writer. We're teaching other writers what we know, what it has taken us 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears to figure out, so that you all can write the stories that are in your heads and in your hearts and have the careers that you want to have as fiction writers, as memoirists, as screenwriters. Because, as Ken and I were just saying, step number one is having a really great book. Because if you don't have a really great book, it's game over. You're wasting all of the other energy promoting it. And one of the things that I've discovered, and I think we talked about this a minute ago, when I came into this business, the first thing I had to learn was how to tell a story, because I had come from journalism, communications, academia. I had come from all that. So I could certainly write an academic paper. I could certainly write a policy document. I could write a newspaper article or a magazine article. Those are all styles of writing. And so I had the grammar, I had the line writing skills, but I had to learn the storytelling skills. And that's the piece that a lot of writers miss. That they might come into this, they might be a lawyer, for example. Well, they can write a legal brief, or they might be a scientist. They know how to write a scientific paper and they have all those writing skills. Now you need the storytelling skills. So that's what we teach. And that's what these courses are designed to teach, so that we can help as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, because I can only have so many one-on-one clients. And I can only help, maybe a half dozen people in a year. Now I can help hundreds of people in a year. So that's the big thing we've got going on now, in addition to finishing my current novel.
That's so awesome, though. I do know, when we talk about all of the stuff about the business side of it and but at the end of the day, I believe that and Mark Victor Hansen says this, everyone has a story in them. Everyone has a book in them.
Hmm.
Now, I also believe that some people should not write a book. I'm kidding. That's mean. Um, but I think that there are so many people that are going to go to their grave with their stories still in them,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's sad. I think that's sad.
Well, there's a lot of people. It takes a lot for someone to even start to write the book. There's a lot of people wishing they could write a book,
Yeah.
and they don't take the first step because it can be a little intimidating. It really
Mhm.
can. I totally get it.
Yeah.
And then for the people who take the first step, when they get into it, sooner or later, and I know this because, listen, I did it, and every client I've ever worked with, and I've now worked with hundreds of writers through, the one-on-one and through group work that I've done and all that kind of stuff. Everyone has had the same feeling where they get into it and they realize, oh, there's more to this than I thought. This is a much bigger project than I thought. I'm so overwhelmed. What do I
Yeah.
do now? A lot of the people will just give up
Yep.
because, like me, they can't find someone, or, when I started, I couldn't find someone who just said, okay, Valerie, relax. Here's what you do.
Yep.
So I want to be the mentor that I wish I had, if that doesn't sound too arrogant.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. That's the thing, is people need mentors to if they want to. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know how much money I've invested in mentors. It's a lot. You didn't go to Bob Proctor's event for free.
No, no.
I know that for a fact. He
Yeah.
definitely believed in abundance, you know, and so does his son Brian. So,
Yeah.
the people are, I think it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna put out this whatever amount of money to do something that I've never done,
Yep.
and I don't know if there's going to be a payoff. What I think that a lot of people are missing is that it is an unbelievable business card, because there is a
Yes.
really good chance. Let's say that you're a veterinarian in Toronto. We'll stick with Canada for a minute. And you have a lot of competitors around you. There is a really, really good chance that not one of your competitors has written a book.
Yeah.
And you could be the unicorn. You could be the
Yeah.
one that wrote a book, and now you're a famous veterinarian if you spend the time and the money marketing it and all of that, right?
I offer up James Herriot. Look no
That
further than, do you know who James Herriot is?
I do not.
He's a vet, or he was. Alf White is the man's actual name. James Herriot is his nom de plume, his pseudonym, and
Okay.
he started to write. I think the first one is All Creatures Great and Small, huge hit. There's been two different television series.
Wow.
It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stories, and
Wow.
he's a storyteller. And the
Yeah.
other thing, Ken, since we're just launching this, the
Yeah.
online school right now for the fundamentals of storytelling until July 7th, you can get 50% off. Use the coupon code Canada50 because we
Hold
launched it on
on.
Canada Day.
Where what is that, a different website, or is that on
No,
your
go to
Valerie?
Story Nerd. Well, if you go to my website, there's a button at the top called courses that'll take you there.
Okay.
ValerieFrancis.ca/courses.
And then the
Or
coupon code, hold on, let me put a banner up. Oh my goodness.
I'm
Um
speaking so fast. I get excited about this.
no, this is awesome. This is awesome. Coupon code is what?
Canada 50.
Can't Is it capitalized, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters, but capitalize it just in case.
All caps for Canada?
All caps.
Canada 50.
50.
Um for 50% off. Okay. So there it is, up on the screen. So coupon
Yeah.
code for 50% off of the, and what is the course? What's the course called?
It's called The Fundamentals of Storytelling.
Okay.
Not a jazzy name, but it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
are the things that your story must have if you want people to read your book all the way to the end and tell their friends about it.
My
And it
wife
comes with an
loves it.
online community. So I'm in
Oh,
there,
nice.
Melanie is in there. If you get stuck and you have questions, we can answer them. Our goal
Wow.
here is to help you reach your goal. And
That
we're
is
writers
so
too. We're
awesome.
story nerds. We call it story nerd because, listen, we can talk all day long about stories. I can
Yeah.
talk the leg off a table about stories.
Yeah.
So
Right.
come and join us, and I would love to meet you.
That is so awesome. So I listen, I endorse that message, and I mean, I really do. I think that if you are um thinking about writing a book, you got to learn how to tell stories. You
Yes.
have to. It is a must. And this sounds like a fantastic course. If Valerie has resonated with you today and you feel like you'd like to get into her community and surround yourself with her brilliance, then definitely go to valeriefrancis.ca and use the coupon code Canada50. Now, does that apply for even people in the US? They still get a 50%?
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. No matter where you
And
are in the world, that will work.
and what is the original price of the course?
297.
And they get 50% off that?
Yep, because we're launching it right now.
Oh my gosh,
What do you have to
140.
lose?
That's
Seriously.
crazy. Holy crap. Go sign up. You need this in your life. Whoever's watching, and you need this. Writing a book, I've told many, many people, um, when I Grant Cardone, kind of motivated me to write my first book. It's the greatest thing I ever did. It literally put me on the map. It made me, and I was already doing very well, but it just takes you to a different
Yeah.
level. Like, most
Yep.
people are going to go to their grave without ever having written a book.
Yeah. Yeah. And and if you've got a burning desire to do it,
Yeah,
do it. Because
do it.
writing a novel, I mean, yes, I quit my job to do it, but you
Yeah,
don't need to quit your job.
right.
You can just spend an hour a day, and before you know it, your novel is done, or your screenplay, or your memoir, or whatever it is you want to write. It's done. And like you said, Ken, when you pick up your book for the first time and
Oh,
look at it and sniff the paper,
it's
which is
unreal.
what we love to do, woo,
Yeah,
it is the best kind of high, I am telling you.
it
And
is.
it's such a feeling of accomplishment. It's like you feel like you can conquer the world when you get
I
that done.
I think, Valerie, and I know you're going to be able to relate to this. Let's say that we had 100 people watching, which we don't. We have 1,671 people watching right now. But for my brain to work properly, let's say there's 100.
Okay.
um, there's a percentage of the people watching that are like, God, yes, I'd love to write a book. I'd love for people to know my story, or know who I am, or I have this novel, or I have this hobby that I'm the best at, and I want to teach other people through my book.
Yep.
But oh my God, what if somebody reads it and they hate it? And what if they judge me? What if my mom and dad read it and they hate me for writing about that, or whatever it is? Like, I those are the demons that I had. I mean, I fought with them. I mean, I fought with those demons, because I
Yeah.
was like, I finally reached a point, and I think you'll be able to relate to this, and maybe even deliver the message, to the audience. But you have to face those demons. You have to.
But you don't have to face them alone, which is
That's
why we
right.
have the community,
That's right.
because we are all doing it. We're all like when my first book came out, my nephew said to me, "How does it feel, Auntie Val, to have your first book coming out?" And I said, "Drew, I would feel less exposed if I stripped naked and ran down the middle of the street."
It's so true.
And
It's true.
you got to just take a deep breath and just go for it. But
It's
once you
so.
step through that, once you've
Yeah.
done it once, then the second time is easier. The third time is even easier than that. And
Yeah.
then you have the situation I have now, where which is the most wonderful problem that a writer could ever have. I have readers message me saying, "When's the next book coming out? I want your next book." I'm like,
Yeah.
"It's soon, soon. I'm on the last round of edits. It's out of my
Yeah.
hands on August 1st."
Right.
So, you know, but it is tough. I don't want to downplay it, because you do feel very vulnerable when it comes out,
Yep.
which is why Melanie and I really wanted to have this community, so that when your book comes out, it's a soft landing. When you have
Yep.
a community of other people who have gone through it or are about to go through it, who get it, who can give you kind of a virtual hug, definitely lots of virtual high fives, and and do it together.
And all of that for 140 some dollars with the
Yes,
coupon. That's crazy.
yes.
Coupon code Canada50. Go to valeriefrancis.ca, click on courses at the top, and use the coupon code Canada 50. Valerie, you are amazing. Your energy is contagious. And my wife said it. I love your laugh. She said it in the
Ah, thanks,
comments.
Jill.
You have such a great laugh and presence, and people need to learn how to be like that. And it comes from loving what you're doing. It really does.
Yes. Oh, I'm having a ball, and other people
Yeah.
can have a ball too.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap this up?
Um, no, I mean, I think that's it. If you've got any questions, you can reach me through my website.
Yeah.
Check out the podcast, Story Nerd, and I just can't wait to meet everyone on the inside.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you
Thank you.
coming on and investing your time with everyone today. If you would stay with me and let's chat after this. But everybody go over to valeriefrancis.ca. Check it out. Go to the button at the top, click on courses, go over, get in this course and get 50% off of the investment because it's launching right now. Use the coupon code Canada 50 and yeah, this is freaking awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
My wife even says great interview. I think you planted some ideas and inspiration today. That's
Aw,
amazing.
Jill, how nice of you. Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Everybody have a wonderful day. Make sure you go follow Valerie, go over to her website, follow her everywhere, and we will see you all later. Valerie, stay with me. We'll be right back.